The game, the box. The game, the box. Of course, talking about the Zelda franchise. More specifically, for this video, we're going to be going over Tears of the Kingdom. But, for those that don't know what Zelda is, The Legend of Zelda is a game franchise that goes all the way back with Nintendo. I mean, the first one came out in '86 with The Legend of Zelda on the original Nintendo, and they just kept making at least one per generation ever since, because it was a smash hit, and always has been a smash hit. The Legend of Zelda franchise has always been about adventure. You play as a character named Link, who always seems to have to go after Princess Zelda for some reason. Whether she just gets kidnapped by Ganon, whether she has been manipulated by Ganon, or just Ganon. It's Ganon. This new entry, of course, Tears of the Kingdom, newest entry. It has been about 5 to 6 months since the game came out, so one of the channel's golden rules is to give games time to be out before we review them, because why would we want the clicks? Why would we want the fresh people clicks? No. The real reason is to just kind of let the dust settle and give me time to play them. Because I needed a lot of time to play this game, man. This game is massive. This game is ridiculously huge. So, you wouldn't know it by looking at the cartridge, but it's a pretty big video game. A lot of stuff to explore. So, without further ado, let's get right into the review template. Graphics. What else can I say? If you liked Breath of the Wild, you're gonna like Tears of the Kingdom. A lot of the enemy design is the same. A lot of the visual elements of the levels is the same. And the water especially looks way better in this game compared to Breath of the Wild. But again, Breath of the Wild was no slouch visually. Like, if you're trying to compare it to like any new 2023 video game or 2022, keep in mind that it's running on the Nintendo Switch, so it's just not going to look as good. But Nintendo has not always been about the power, just the raw power of a video game system. They used to use that marketing quite a bit in the Bit War era, but recently, as of, the Wii onwards, it's not about the power, it's about the games. If you like these graphics, you're gonna love those graphics. So, daytime looks brilliant. The night sky in this game looks really good. Taking in the ambiance is quite awesome in this game, which is very important for an adventure game. Why would you play an adventure game that sucks to look at? Sound and music. The sound design in this game is great, I guess. There's really no room to mess up sound in modern gaming. I've said this before, but it's good stuff. Like, it sounds good. So all of the important characters in this game have voice actors.
月よ、赤く染まる月よ。汝の光がこの地を照らすとき、魔物どもの魂が再び肉体を取り戻す。
But the 100 or so side characters in the game kind of speak with this weird.
Oh.
So the music composition in this game is something I want to shine a spotlight on. I remember reading that in Breath of the Wild, the approach that they took to music was they didn't want people paying attention to the music as much as the adventure that's going on screen. They didn't want the music to, like, steal the show, I guess. And they did a good job with that game and that, because none of that music is memorable, except for maybe the ending Ganon battle sequence. I remember that being kind of intense. But yeah, they took a Minecraft approach, I guess you can call it, where the music is just, it's kind of there, but doesn't jump out at you. Well, with this, to complement the more interactive nature and the more plot-driven nature of the game, they amped their music game up a little bit, and I gotta say, I very much appreciate it. Part of the awesomeness of Zelda for me, the Zelda franchise, is all of the great music that has been in the game. It's not in full force because they still take kind of that subdued approach, but let's just say the actual plot elements got their musical treatment just right. So, onto the plot. This is going to be spoiler-free, because I want you to play the game. Basically, it follows a standard Zelda adventure. And that's basically all I'm going to say. Well, there is a little more I'm going to say, but it's not going to be direct to any specific thing within the game. So, the way the plot worked in Breath of the Wild is, hey, you're Link, I showed up, you need to go kill Ganon. And you can do that in any way you choose. And it left you up to that decision of, hey, do I have these 4 things help me fight Ganon or not? You're given information from before you started playing the game, drip fed to you through the playing of the game. However, I kind of feel like Link didn't progress events in the game world at a fair clip, if at all. He just did these 4 things and then went to Ganon, and that's it. Whereas with this, it's a little more involved. It feels like a more traditional Zelda game. You get the elements of both here. So, you get your sequence of ascertaining the help from everybody else, and this time they kinda make you do it. It's not just you versus the world. You'll have complete factions of the world just team up with you. There are way more characters. It's a way more involved plot sequence of things that happens until you ultimately reach Ganon. The plot sequence and actions feel more evolutionary, where one thing relies on the other. And the quest design on this is way better, but we'll get into that here in a bit. And again, it's kind of a long game. So even if you don't want to take the time to explore literally everything, it's gonna take you a while to beat this one. I recommend buying the game on the plot alone. It's basically just as good as any classic Zelda game. So, that brings us now to gameplay, which is the meat of most Zelda games. I mean, you're adventuring, right? So, you need lots of stuff to do. And this game has you covered. So, on top of literally everything that was stolen from Breath of the Wild, there are some pretty fun new things. The fuse goo. And the fuse goo, its primary purpose is to just fuse things in the environment together. It's that simple. And that element right there adds a new dimension of gameplay. The focus here was to manipulate items in the environment in such a way to where you can achieve your next goal. Which is, of course, very Zelda-like, but with being able to fuse things together in the world, the gameplay just explodes. It's ridiculous. This fusing isn't limited to just objects in the environment. No, you can actually take this to the next level with items in your inventory. It counts as a new spin on some of the classics. You no longer have to collect separate ice arrows, for example. Now you can just attach a freeze glob to your arrow and bada boom bada bing, you have an arrow that can freeze things. Same with fire. You don't have to just drag your arrow through the fire anymore to light it on fire. You can put one of those demon eyeballs on it. And speaking of eyeballs, you put any eyeball on an arrow, it automatically becomes a homing arrow. That's right, so you don't have to have the skill to anticipate where the enemy is going to be. I'm not slamming anybody because sometimes those enemies move really fast. So you kinda need homing ability to effectively take them out. This fusing thing, this fusing gameplay element is my favorite new addition to the game, and I think needs to be a staple. Well, maybe not a staple forever, but I wouldn't complain if the next game had it. The addition of more world to explore. So, you thought that big map on freaking Breath of the Wild was just too puny? You had it all mapped out and everything, you found all the secrets? Well, how's about 2 more maps that are roughly the same size? You get a whole new underworld to explore, with all new monsters and all new fusing effects. And you also get the Sky Islands. Wait a minute, I didn't know this game was in the Chrono Trigger universe. But then again, what game isn't? Anyway, point being, you have a lot more to explore, you have a lot more to freaking collect, and let's not even forget about the whole mechanical thing. Instead of relying on ancient machinery like you did in Breath of the Wild, and those are just the highest number versions of whatever thing you were using currently at the time, you can instead make some cool, new, unique machinery with these items. I never went to the level that a lot of YouTubers have. You guys remember Banjo-Tooie Nuts and Bolts? Do ya? Do ya? Well, I don't blame you if you don't. But yeah, evidently whenever Nintendo does the same thing, not only do they get a pass, but it's just better. So, and that about does it for this review. I'm sorry if you were expecting a long one. I'm looking forward to the next Zelda entry. Maybe here in about 3 to 5 years, we'll get a third one for the Switch. And then the new console that Nintendo will come out with by the time I'm like 40 or 42.